I see attention as like a divine act. You are offering someone full attention and they offer it back. That's where the poetic happens. That's where the change is. And saying something new occurs because it's like, right, I'm here. You're three-dimensional. I'm attending. And I feel like you are attending.
If you're always wearing a mask, a thick mask, you will eventually destroy every relationship that you have. And I left in absolute disarray. Like, oh my God, I'm going to ruin everything. We can't reveal to everyone who we are completely all of the time.
So just before we speak, know that I love you.
It felt like you were also saying that to me. Well,
I was.
Know that I love you too.
Welcome to the Poetry Vessel. On this podcast, we invite guests across multiple disciplines to discuss the intersection of poetry with philosophy, psychology, the occult, neuroscience, popular culture, and more. I'm your host, Nathan Hassall, Malibu Poet Laureate, published poet, and professional book editor. Ready to learn more about poetry's transformational power? Let's break open the vessel and find out what happens. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, we'll do a countdown. 90. Welcome back to the Poetry Vessel. Today I'm sat down with someone I have known my whole life. His name is Alex Hassall and he is my brother. Alex, welcome to the Poetry Vessel.
Oh, thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here in this exciting and thrilling and nerve-wracking experience of being on your podcast. So, yeah, thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So today I just want to frame this also for our viewers that are watching this is I want to be able to say something to you and for you to say something to me that we've never said before. So obviously we've been having conversations our whole lives and we've been having deep conversations, I think, since about I was 14. So you would have been 12 and now I'm 35 and you are 33. So the goal here is to say something new, poetic, and hopefully enchanting. So before we go there, I would like if you could just tell our viewers a little bit about who you are.
My mind instantly jumps to the kind of things that I'm interested in. And not only that, what I'm also excited and fearful of to bring to the world, to the public, to whoever will lend me their ear, really. So I'm really interested mostly in mental health as like a primary, and then off of that is the I look at life very much so through a symbolic lens, and I like to tie into that philosophy and psychology and poetry, and through the influence that I've had from you, Nathan, more recently, trying to ascertain that anyway. I am currently a residential support worker. I work with young people in a residential care home, which is actually a really exciting point in my life and a big turning stone for how I want to orient myself. It's like the first major stepping stone to come to what I believe I would like to bring to society or to as many people as possible, which I suppose is why I'm very excited to be here, because this is my first chance to bring to an audience my first moment of revealing myself in that way.
Yeah, and I'd just like to point out, as soon as you said first chance, that was when the train horn went. So in the interest of something, I guess, divinatory, I'm going to see chance as something that's just come into the conversation and will hopefully bring something new to us. And that's really well stated, and something, you know, I know that you've been through, you know, a lifetime of mental health like struggles and issues, and that you've found a way, especially through your work, to channel these things to help mentor younger people and also bring something to them that brings newness and understanding to their lives. And I think that there's something fundamentally poetic about that, because I believe poetry in itself is fundamentally about a sense of newness and refresh. So I don't know if that's how you consider part of your work, but that's something I find as a link here.
Definitely. And one of the first things I noticed very, very early on was like, I'm in the role model business, so to speak. And I get to ask myself at the end of each day, have I been a good role model today? And very often, like there's gaps. And it's like, here's how I can go into self-improvement. Here's how I can orient myself as best as I can, to the best of my ability, in order to attempt to reach that peak. Although it is a peak you would never reach, it's just an ever climb. So, which is a really amazing experience for me, because I'm very obsessed with self-development and I suppose it comes in part from a hypercritical mind, which I'm trying to address. And so yeah, as I grow and learn more, I feel like my connections with the young men that I work with and are growing stronger. And so yeah.
So I know that you brought a poem in today. Of course, we might need to edit parts of this out, but we'll get to that at the time. But we're still going to use it as a frame. So if you'd like to introduce the author, name of the book, and then the poem itself.
Of course, this is Ted Hughes, and it's his poetry collection, Crow, from the life and songs of the Crow. And the poem is called Crow Tyrannosaurus. Crow Tyrannosaurus by Ted Hughes. Crow thought, alas, alas, I ought to stop eating and try to become the light. But his eye saw a grub, and his head trap sprung, stabbed. And he listened, and he heard, weeping, grubs, grubs. He stabbed, weeping, weeping, weeping he walked and stabbed.
There's so much to say in that poem. And I'm going to start with like a feeling from hearing you read it. I actually read it quite Hughes-like. He kind of deepens his voice and sounds quite oracular when he reads his work. So there was the spirit, not just of his words, but kind of his performance somewhere in there. And I think that lends to the strength of the writing, that it tells you something about how it should be read. And you captured it really well. I want to know, because I asked you to bring a poem, I said something that changed your life or perspective, and I'd like to know like why you think you gravitated towards wanting to read that.
As a marker, and perhaps a false marker, of my mental wellness, I thought intelligence in the perception of what's going on with my poor mental health state from the past was a marker of growth, only to realize that where I was placing intelligence in the understanding, which was often misread. It was like a part of me was saying, no, this is the understanding, and that's why we need to be in a state of fear all the time. Brought that about. And so the bird is trying to reason with its surroundings, with its, oh, should I do this? Should I step into the light? Shall we go here? And the moment the poem changes, when it sees a grub on the ground, it's like instinctual, like stab, stab. It's fear-based almost. It's wondering, it's weeping, it's sad, it's crying. And so now we've come away from all this questioning, and we're back in our autonomy of what we believed originally to be a healing place, but they were just thoughts. The actions dictated the capturing of the bird's barriers of growth, let's say. And so for me, that spoke powerfully on a personal level.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a moment in there that I like because the poem's talking about sight and sound a lot.
Mm,
And the moment that the crow, I just want to get the quotation right,
mm,
but said, "Crow thought, alas, alas, ought I to stop eating and try to become the light." I think
mm,
it's interesting that the crow thought this, didn't speak it, didn't bring it into
mm,
existence in that way, had a moment of, should I become light? Maybe I should go to the light. And then instinct. And then, like you said, it's like straight back to stabbing. It's like then distracted by, nope, food, nope,
mm,
consumption, nope, digestion. It kind
mm,
of like overrode the part of the crow that had this instinct for like light.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So within this, and the way part of where I'm reading this, and this is quite typical of Ted Hughes, he can be quite overbearing, overbearingly dark, and very alive to the idea of myth. And he brought myth into a lot of his work. He brings
mm,
like the countryside and nature, but it's like with this myth, it's like we've got this device as the crow that, is throughout the whole book. It's called Crow. It's like this character that's kind of everywhere at the creation and the destruction of the entire world. And it's this dark creature that also has its own struggles and
mm,
thoughts and ideas. And it's like, maybe I should do this, and it gets brought to something else. So there's all these different moods
mm,
and actions that the crow can be brought through. But I
mm,
think he tends to be quite, Hughes, I mean, as the writer, pessimistic and dark. And
mm.
knowing this is written in the wake of the of his wife Sylvia Plath, I know that that's informed the rest of his work
Mm,
from that. So
mm.
yeah,
To me, it's also it's like the internal struggle that we're all in with the many voices and parts of us that try and take a commanding role in our life, and in that moment of instinct goes into battle with blindness and deafness, and it's just this mash of, it's a war, it's an inner war, it's a self war, and the crow is also responsible. And so there's a weight that is born out of that. And I believe it's a weight that we can all carry. I mean, perhaps some people listening can relate to that, but and it's one I'm definitely, I wouldn't say necessarily struggling through, because I also feel like I'm standing on my own feet, but it's like fleshing out within a therapeutic practice that I'm in. I'm in therapy, and that idea of the sort of the council, the temple of the like the hierarchical structure that you have in your mind of the parts of who we are. If they're at war, then our lives are in disarray.
mm.
And if we can bring them together in conversation and have us as the personality able to structure this what feels like a mess at times.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think that speaks to, he speaks about the eye circling and then the deafness coming, and I see that as like,
Mm,
well, there's one thing about being alive to the sensory world in these ways, but there's another thing about like, well, how do you truly see and listen?
mm, mm,
You breathe, you close your eyes, you open your ears,
mm,
you open your body. I mean, your pores are open, your heartbeat can
mm,
elevate, and it's like then you're like radically with, I think, with another person and with yourself when you really lend listening. So to lose
mm,
not just hearing in a literal sense, but hearing as in you can choose to lose your hearing by not paying attention and not listening. So there's something
mm.
in that that's like a cautionary tale of also pay attention.
Yeah.
And attention, I think, I'll throw this as a somewhat of an exploratory question. It's like I see attention as like a divine act. You are offering someone full attention and they offer it back. That's where the poetic happens. That's where the change is and saying something new occurs, because it's like, right, I'm here, you're three-dimensional, I'm attending, and I feel like you are attending. So for you, when I ask, there are so many crows over there, like, sorry. They have been invoked. For you, speaking of attention.
Perfect.
You just talked about being in therapy. So how does attention as a structure work within that relationship with the therapist?
What springs to mind is I'm someone that often loses attention. You know, I'm very easily distractible, and that's okay with what the distraction might mean, or if I'm bringing distraction to someone else in the relationship, in the therapeutic relationship. But where I might be losing attention could be one of those parts like, whoa, that's a dangerous spot within. Stay away from that. Look at me.
Yeah.
Look at this. I'm here. Like,
Ignore the
notice
shadow,
me.
there's a clown.
Ignore the shadow. And one of the interesting things that comes up is when you're doing like deep work within, and when you're sort of moving into the abyss, let's call it, what your mind likes to offer you is like, it's like something kind of difficult that you need to work on, but it actually serves as a distraction from the black bulge that you were going towards. And the more you take what your mind throws at you as good work, which it kind of is, the more you train the part of your mind to distract you from the deep work of what you need to move towards. And I find that really interesting because it's a trap that I've fallen in over the years. It's like, oh, but I did some work and I'm really pleased about that. And then that part of the mind's like, good.
Yeah.
I'm keeping you safe.
You did your distracted task.
Yeah.
It's funny because there's a poet, Richard Hugo, and he wrote a book called The Triggering Town. And in poetry, he's like, there's a triggering subject. So the triggering subject, when you start writing something, you usually start writing something safe. I'm going to start talking about a blade of grass and how green and beautiful it is. But then within that, then maybe the grass can die, and then you think about mortality, and then it takes you from, it's almost like, here's a door. Behind it, you can look, you're like, oh, that's nice. That's a nice, lovely garden. And you go into the garden, then it's like, this is a garden, but it's also all these other realities that you might need to face. So the triggering subject is the safety for your mind. And this can happen when you write when people read your poetry, like, you don't often start as dark as you possibly can. You kind of like go, intriguing. And then you kind of unleash the full point of what it is that you're trying to say. You need someone to feel comfortable. When someone knocks at your door and you open it and they go, I need to tell you about the deepest grief I've ever had. You're like, can we just have a cup of tea first and then get into it, let it go. So that's the triggering subject.
Well, it's like from a relationship perspective, and I got this, it was what Jordan Peterson spoke about. It's like those first 5 minutes where you see your partner should be overwhelmingly positive. I'm so happy to see you. I miss you. It's so great that, we're together now. After those 5 minutes pass, it's like move into whatever grief, whatever grievances that you've experienced that day, and at least that's always positive. That's always something you look forward to.
So just before we speak, know that I love you.
It felt like you were also saying that to me. Well,
I was.
Know that I love you too.
I was direct and indirect at the same time.
Yeah. So I took a second to try and see from both perspectives. So yeah, it was.
You brought up, I guess we went onto a theme of love, and there's something I read recently from Kathleen Raine, and I want to read this out. I just need to see if I've got it. She wrote, it's really a question of love. You cannot love human beings in the long run, if these are seen as mere mechanisms of conditional reflexes. To make of human beings objects, mechanisms, is the last betrayal of our human nature. But it is also the logical term of the secular materialism we accept so unquestioningly. Materialist art is a loveless art. Materialist poetry is a loveless poetry. A materialist world is a loveless world.
Mm.
And the reason I read that, and I'll throw it over to you in a second, and I was like, yes, this is interesting. When poetry or art conforms to the dictates of science, it can take away from beauty and love and truth because we're being so literal and in engagement with the sense of the world that's brought forth by science. Now, there's merit in that, but there's merit in the fully imaginative, artistic too. And there's obviously they can come together. So when she speaks about the materialist, it's like a materialist poetry is conforming to what science is saying it should conform to, not playing art for the sake of the art itself.
I had a moment of loss of focus, and I can so often pin this to something. Something caused a rift within that, and again, that kind of anxious part comes into play. Like, stop! We need to not pay attention, and it shows me places of which I'm using materialism to replace the beauty, replace the love in some regard, even in the way I dress or the way I act. And
How do you mean?
often what we wear, often what we put on, it's not just for ourselves, it's to show people that we are a certain type of person.
Mhm.
I love my beads, I do, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that I'm trying to do this for others. There's an argument to be said that perhaps I'm just trying to provoke a kind of conversation that I'd like to have. Look at the beads, I'm into this stuff, let's go into that. And so that to me is okay, but there's another insecure part of me that wants to be connected to a certain kind of, it's like a materialist symbol to say, I am part of this group, see, I can fit in.
Yeah.
But I don't often fit in so well to places, so.
You made me think of like if you blast music in your car with your windows down, who's the music for?
Yeah. And I've definitely turned it up because I've seen people on the pavement.
And obviously they're there just clapping.
Oh, yeah. They love listening to extreme metal.
So is there, obviously I asked you to read a poem that you thought was like changing or transformative. Do you have a moment in your life that you feel like something within you really shifted that you'd be comfortable sharing? Or uncomfortable but willing to share?
Yeah, that's it. I was trying to search for that sentence. Uncomfortable and willing to share. Let's go with that. And this is actually this comes from a place when I was in very ill mental and physical health. And dissociation is a large part of what I have had to deal with. And I would spend months and months dissociated. No connection to my emotional sense, and so there's little play for joy or fear. It's like the body's survival mechanisms kicking in and keeping me safe. And I use that in quotations, and perhaps I can go into that a little bit later, but you sent me a song, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. Perhaps you can. After the Storm by Mumford and Sons.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way I can describe it is it grabbed a hold of me and yanked me back into reality. It pulled me out of dissociation so viscerally, so quickly, because I cried and cried for about 24 hours with very little sleep in between. And that was also the point at which I first made that connection with you, having not spoken to you in so many months. And I would say that was a moment of regaining my senses and grounding myself back into reality. And it was an incredibly painful pull because I had to address months of not feeling an emotional spectrum.
And was there something in that? I mean, yeah, that's a song I gravitate to when I'm dealing with something more difficult. And is there something in like Dissociation being the storm? And ironically, storm-like in that it's not storm-like for me in that it's like, well, if I'm disassociated, I'm not. I don't realize I'm in a storm.
Well, it's like being in the cellar. The storm, it might destroy everything above me, but it's okay. I'm safe in my cellar. Nothing's going to hurt me in here. It doesn't matter how big the storm is raging. And it's also the storm. It's what caused you to go into the cellar. So, the mind's like, go, hide. If we come away from this, then we can survive. Yeah.
So after listening to that, you said that you like then you needed to, I don't know, if use words like purge or cleanse or have that moment of
Cathartic release.
And then, like, what did you realize had changed as a result of communicating with obviously music, but also the poetry of the lyrics?
It's after the storm, and so the song pulled me back into the storm, so to speak. The storm being the emotions that that part of me felt fit to avoid. And so it wasn't until after I actually sat in the storm that I rang you the next day, like, all this happened. I don't, and then the conversation that followed that. So yeah, one of the things I'm always bringing to people in terms of healing work, especially, and it's something that really resonates with me, is that all I believe healing work happens in darkness, and we need to sit there in it, and we need to experience it fully. And once we've been able to withstand everything we need to withstand within that, then we come to light. And so that is actually a good example of me having to sit in that darkness, the negative emotion, and beautiful tears, that I was actually able to come out of that dissociation.
And if you're in the cellar, in this metaphor, and you're in a storm, you're not seeing the light flashing. You're not beckoning the call of like, wait, there's still this. It brought me to think about, and I posted this recently with a quote, but in the tarot, there's a tower card, and the tower card's got lightning hitting it like it's being destroyed, and there's people jumping out of the window, and it's very easy to be like, oh, this is destructive and negative. Like we want to you use it like emotions, like negative emotion. You're like, no, emotion healthily expressed properly isn't negative. It's a good thing. I've had this conversation a lot with Rachel. I think the easiest emotion that I found is anger, and thinking anger's a threat, therefore I must be sad. But sad is a capping emotion for the anger, which often it happens the other way around. So because it's a capping emotion, the anger never expresses itself. So it's just like, throw up the bubble of sad, throw up the bubble of sad. It's like, but it's never dealt with. And it wasn't until I realized there's certain music I can listen to, you can play sports, you can do things that integrate anger, that doesn't lead to destruction. You just express something healthily. So the emotion's negative when it's controlling you. It's not necessarily negative when it's expressed in the way that it requires expression.
What I find interesting is as you say, anger cap sad, and I'm completely capsized in that. Like, anger's the one that's hard to express. Sad actually comes out, but they're both capping everything else underneath.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, what's behind the anger? And my body's like, sadness. And I'm like, okay, what is that? Where in sadness are we? Like, what emotion is behind that? Because sadness is such a blanket term. How do you feel? Sad. It's like, what does that mean? How deep into sad can we go? Sorrow, loss, guilt, like grief, dealing with betrayal. All of these things are under the blanket of sad.
I think
it's like a structure of variety. Yeah.
And it maybe even deeper than that. I mean, we were on a walk through St. Leonard's Forest quite recently. And I mentioned this to Rachel on the previous episode, but it bears repeating because I was with you. And I was coming up with an example of a metaphor, speaking about the triggering subject. And I went, for example, there's a block of ice in my chest and it won't melt. And then I was like, that wasn't just an example. That's the felt experience. But that's more true than saying I've got sadness in me. It's more true to say it's a block of ice and it won't melt, because then I've brought it to metaphor. I've brought it to like something far more powerful that I can make sense of. And it's like, okay, what does it need? And to me, after a few days, it happened, but it's like, it needs to melt.
It's no wonder why words come out with such a cold tongue. See your own breath.
So I did this with Rachel on a previous podcast. We've been speaking in a lot of metaphors, but I think they're always happening all the time. Have you got one that's emerging in you right now?
Have I got a metaphor that's emerging in me right now?
Or an image, something that's, or symbol?
Oh, I've always got images. It's nothing but.
All right.
Oh. Do you know what it is? It's like a curtain, and then the curtain opens, and then there's a towel behind it. Then there's something smashing the towel, and the arm is bulging, and now we're looking at a demon. I went to a...
Are you about to tangent?
No.
On the image, okay. Because I want to stick with it.
I went to a place where the demon bit my head off, and I rolled down its stomach. And I didn't retrieve myself straight away, because I was like, what are we doing in here? And I was the head, and the body was separate. And I stayed in there for a little bit, and then I commanded my body to dig my head out, pull myself, because you can't leave yourself in the belly of a demon.
And are you leaving like your body's like the intellect or something? Because if it's your head and brain, why do you think it's that? And your body's not in it.
And the body's also the heart.
Yeah.
So the heart is like, we need to retrieve that. It's like a place of care. We need this.
We need the brain too.
Yeah. If you're all heart and all care, we're quite vulnerable. Yeah. We keep putting our hand down to help people, and they keep dragging us further. We need a brain. We're just going to keep getting dragged down if we keep doing this, heart. So let's set ourselves up. But it was... Yeah, no, it was very powerful imagery. In fact, I think it's so much in images. Part of the reason why I'm so distractible is because I hear something, and my imagination just expands the room, and it almost leaves me distant from... You could say that it's a level of dissociation, but the thing is, I'm going so far into association of the subject that is where I almost arrive. Like, I'm no longer present, but I'm with something in a great way. So
I think where I relate to that, sometimes if I'm hearing a poem be read, someone will say a line and then it grips me so much. I'm like, okay, now I'm on an associative spiral, and their voice has faded, but they've done something that's like the magic is happening because that line was so resonant that I do care about the rest of what they're going to say. But right now, it's like I have to focus on this because it's just like, and it's rolling through me, and then maybe I'll remember it It's like music with a riff too. It's like maybe I'll remember it and it'll just repeat for 24 hours or something, that I would just like, because it's enacting something within me that's fundamentally transformative and magical. So it's like I'm holding on to it because I need to. So if I ever feel like, okay, I'm not listening to that anymore, but I listened so intently to something that it's doing what it needs to do right now.
Yeah, through listening, it's like together with that person, like you help create this in me. And so, yeah, if that's the purpose it was supposed to serve, then brilliant.
Here's a question I've not asked you before. I'll start by framing: when people can't find a word, you dance first, you move your body, you do the action of something, but you are you're a dancer without necessarily dancing, in the sense that you're very body language focused, and you body language really strongly. Like, I think I talk with my hands a bit. I know we've got Greek ancestry, and I usually like put it there, like Greeks, Italians,
Nanny talking with the knife.
Very expressive. So like, do you notice how expressive you are in that way, and that do you think of yourself as dancing and including other people in the dance while you're talking?
100%. I actively try and use that dance, as you say, to formulate what I'm trying to say. And I can even say why, if you would like. I think I've developed this. And so when I was younger, being middle child, youngest brother, younger sister, that's kind of two older brothers. I never felt like I was listened to. And so I had this deep yearning to be heard. And so in my learning of how to be heard and understood, which is the main part of it, I had to develop my way of expression. Like, I want to keep people's attention, and I want them to understand what it is that I'm trying to say. And I would say about 10 years ago, I wanted it to be exact. Things aren't exact. Our experiences take us to our own interpretations and our own meaning. And now I understand that it will never be exact, but we can still create a powerful imagination in others, especially when we use expression, or it helps them come to an understanding, I believe.
Yeah, like, I want to drive my point home is a lot more powerful than I want to drive my point home. You're not going to trust that I'm actually driving it home.
You don't look like you want to drive at all.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if I'm sure. Looking through
back to Nanny on the pillow with the steering wheel. She was very little.
Yeah.
Bless her.
Where I relate to what you were saying about wanting to be heard. Okay, we grew up very loud family, very funny, very quick quips, because the deep listening wasn't there. So to get the attention, it's like, can I be funny really quickly to get a modicum of attention? Because getting like long periods of attention is rare. So, I retreated into writing and sharing that as my way of like, okay, one, if you're reciting a poem, and I'm also on a podcast, okay, there's an attention that's a craving from being, that was giving me attention too. It's attention, nice and drink, from a craving of being younger and it being a need, and then realizing that, well, one of the ways in which to receive attention is to give attention. Usually the things that we feel that we're most deficit of can come about as a result of giving it. And going back to love, if you're just sitting there, maybe with a romantic partner, and you're like, I just want you to love me, just love me, just love me, just love me. And it's like, oh, wait, let's flick that. I love you. I'm saying it to you now as well, live on camera.
I feel like you want a hug.
There you go. It's an air hug. And then you're opening that, and then it's like, okay, now that can come back. It's like that can create the dialogue, and you can receive something by giving.
Well, a lot of the ways, when you have a dysfunction within a family, the way in which you can get your needs met is through manipulation. And you can hardly blame people that learn to do this, because we all have our needs. We must get them met. And so that's also how acting out comes. So, if you're a child, you walk in, you just break something. What happens? Everybody looks at you. You're like, you're getting what you want.
I mean, we were all class clowns.
Yeah, and that got us some attention. Maybe not exactly what we needed, but at least it's
closer to it.
It's closer to it.
Yeah,
it's closer to it. I'm really sitting here now appreciating the younger versions of us having those deep conversations, and that was exactly what we needed, and we found it in each other, and we've retained that over many years, and it's such a beautiful thing. So thank you for that. I don't know who brought it to who, but it was just like, isn't space cool, man? Like, you have to begin somewhere.
And this is from memory, and I know that memories are, the feelings present, and the memory will fill itself in. But in my head, we're sitting in the kitchen, we're sitting opposite each other. I realized, again, I think I was 14, but I realized I don't really understand you. I don't really understand, like, my brother. I don't have a proper relationship. Now, this is from a 14-year-old mind, so that I didn't think as clearly as that, but like that sentiment was there. And that's when I felt like it had opened up into having a conversation that was like you said, like space, bro. Whoa. Like, something, but that was beyond the surface, and that was beyond the humor that we had. And humor, I like seeing this. It's like humor can be deeply concealing in one respect. It can be deeply revealing, but it can be used to reveal or to conceal. So concealing is like, ha 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 ha, I'm laughing so hard, I'm making so many jokes, we're not paying attention to the issue. It can reveal your issues. I could say, oh, I'm just the worst person in the world, and kind of go, huh. And then it's like, oh, it's a reflection of a psychological state that I'm trying to say that. But then it can be really revealing if you use it, I think, in the best manner. There's a way to joke with someone, even make fun of someone, that retains playfulness and can be part of a deep discussion. Like even right now, we've been having jokes, even though it's been a serious discussion.
Well, it's a great way to relieve tension, especially like as I say, I get all this powerful imagery. Sometimes that can be really overwhelming when I'm uncontaining myself. Like that little nugget, just lets your body breathe a little bit. And then it's like, right, let's get straight back in there.
There's a poet called Louise Alcott, and she said, I don't just like writing sad poems. It's really easy to make someone cry. You just say a few sad things and they're there. She's like, I want to make them laugh. And that's basically a lot more difficult. So it's almost like it's easy to be serious. It's hard to be serious but funny. Like you can be serious and dour. It's hard to be serious but funny. I mean, going back to Ted Hughes, he didn't really nail much humor, and that would be my criticism of his work, is that it's very serious. And when you're only one thing, if you're I'm serious and dour, I'm serious and dour, I'm serious and dour, it becomes unintentionally funny. If you don't control humor, if people are, if you watch someone acting and they're crying for like an hour, at some point you're just going to laugh. You're like, this is ridiculous. you need other things to be brought in.
They enter every set, every stage with their lip quivering. And I think that's also that Ted Hughes is it's not really a cover to cover book. I think like if you like Ted Hughes and you get a lot of powerful imagery from it, it's so unraveling. Like, would you be able to put that all back in and go to work? Be a decent friend? No, and that actually brings me back to therapy. The therapeutic space is held within the room. When you leave the room, you need to go back to your life, and you need to be able to handle your life. And in the unraveling experience I've had there, where it was the new concept of masks and how wearing a mask, this idea was brought to me. If you wear a mask, you'll eventually destroy, if you're always wearing a mask, a thick mask, you'll eventually destroy every relationship that you have. And I left in absolute disarray. Like, oh my God, I'm going to ruin everything. And it unraveled me for a week. I was highly emotional and completely dysregulated until my therapist was like, Alex, you can put the mask back on. You don't have to keep it off. And I was like, oh, oh, put the mask back on. I'm like, right. And the idea is like, we're going to take off like a layer, or we're going to momentarily remove it so we can work with it. Like, people wear masks all the time. We need our masks.
Yeah.
We can't reveal to everyone who we are completely all of the time.
It's hard enough. I don't even think it's necessarily possible to reveal it to yourself. So how can you reveal it?
Exactly.
I got an image when you're talking about masks. I'm like, if you're wearing a certain mask, you really want to be seen in one specific way. I think of the film The Mask, you know, how it like affixes to his face. It's like there's a force in it that it goes. But then I also was thinking about, it's like a tree, right? The tree will grow, so it thickens, and the roots will also go deeper because it needs to have deep roots to stay up. And I'm like, oh, if you wear something for too long, you keep trying to wear it, it just keeps reaching in, it keeps going out. The weight is too much. Either falls off or you die. It's what brings you down. And that can be metaphorical or probably also literal.
The poplar. The poplar is a tree that we make matches out of. We make matches out of it because it burns really badly, so quickly, which is great for matches, terrible for fires. But the poplar, it just keeps growing and growing and growing it until it can't take the weight of itself anymore. They get massive, and then they split. Huge tear down the trunk. And then we have to deal with that. It can't withstand its own weight.
Does it die? Or does it become...
It depends which part tears off of it. I don't think... I'm not 100% sure if it has epicormic growth where it sprouts out many branches like an oak tree. If you cut a branch off an oak tree, it sprouts out many roots, but it might not grow back from where you cut it off from. I can't remember. But
the metaphor works.
But if it splits in half down the middle, it's probably not going to survive that long. It's now completely exposed to disease.
It made me think of the line that was in here. And the dog was a bulging filter bag. And I thought of the tree bulging and becoming too heavy for itself. That image is like, it's beautiful. It's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
A bulging filter bag. It's like a vacuum cleaner or something.
And all the grime and dust and everything that you're hoovering up in there. Nasty image. Amazing.
Yeah. It gave the right level of horrific disgust.
Yeah. And was the dog alive when it was in there?
Yeah. Okay. I know a pivot. So I'm not sure how long it's been, but maybe the last couple of years that you turned to Christianity. How has that changed you and functioned in your life?
I think it's my main wrestle with it is trying to live up to something good. And so it's like a constant reminder of like, ooh, that activity, it's bad, it's evil, it's sinful, whatever it is. And I should attune myself very differently if I'm going to even begin to consider myself as good. So it was like a constant source to reaffirm or re-realize what my ideologies are, or what my intentions are in the world. Like, one of my experiences, my earlier experiences with going to church were very uncomfortable because I kept having to confront parts of myself I really didn't like.
Do you mean early experiences like when we went as a family, or do you mean...
Good question. Early experiences in terms of 2 years ago when I started going to church. and that also meant that the first time I went, so unbelievably uncomfortable. Why is everyone so nice and friendly and asking me questions? And my brain going, danger. But after I got over that initial fear, I then kept being confronted with myself, and that was very hard to bear. Like bear the weight of your cross. It's like bearing the weight of my soul, bearing the weight of the snakes in my mind. Like, I have to address these things now. I'm confronted with it. And so it's a constant in my head. All I can see is this bright, shiny cross just staring at me, a cross with an eyeball on it, just watching me like, keep yourself attuned. And so, which is really great. It's very light, it's very powerful. I think knowing that we're not alone has helped me dramatically. I used to deal with intense loneliness until I came to a level of faith where I realized there is something greater than me. And now, since that day, loneliness has not really been an issue. Bar from, I need to speak to someone. It's been a day.
It makes me think of the difference between loneliness and solitude, and that solitude to me is where can be pregnant with meaning. So in solitude, I might be reading, I might be contemplating, I might be meditating, I might be praying. In loneliness, I'm just worrying about myself and not having anyone to understand what's happening. Like, you can be lonely in a crowd, you can be lonely next to someone. It's like, it's an emotional state. So to me, what it sounds like is that you're referring to a solitude, but that doesn't mean you're completely alone. It just means that you are, as you know, a human alone as a human, and comfortable in that.
I guess we're moving into parts where it's like, it's the difference of not having a kind of divine energy surrounding you. So, like, you're exposed to yourself, and the only one that you have to deal with you is you. And if you put your mind there, it's almost guaranteed to not be a very nice experience, especially if you're someone that has a lot of pessimism, as I have, and a lot of traumatic experience, call it. And the way in which I learnt the world worked was one of warped energy. And so,
What do you mean warped energy?
when you see the world in a lens that's barren and dark and empty, and that same lens is two-way facing,
Like a mirror, do you mean, as well?
an eyeball with two irises, an inner eye and an outer eye, watching both sides. So if your landscape is barren, your inner world is also. And to face that alone is terrible. Soul destructive. No wonder why dissociation was such a large part of my life. It was unbearable. And I've come to appreciate that dissociation because it did keep me safe.
Even the way that you said terrible created a ground tremble in me, like in my chest. Terrible. It's one of those words. I have this with astonished. Usually, if you use a word that is directly related to an emotion, I felt terrible. it's not as resonant, but the word terrible is resonant. And there's a bit where I'll say this and I'll swing back. Terence McKenna is talking about being on a herbal path. And he says that what he saw, one, he was appalled at the images this outer dream gave him, but he was also astonished. And when I think of astonished and terrible and awe, all these things come together. So even in your expression of it's terrible to face it alone, it's like, for me, there's a place of awe and reverence there, which allows something, a deeper spirit that may be around us, that may be within us, to show itself. So when you faced that and you realized that that's something that you needed, I don't know if that's the way that you would word it, what's that transmuted to? What's the change been as a result of realizing that you're not facing things alone?
It's the difference of being in a place where there's a real threat. If you're faced with a threat alone, it's so much more nerve-wracking. If you have one good, reliable friend next to you, there's a strength that you feel just because that they're there that is unmatched. And so if I'm unmatched with something greater than, if I'm with that strength, something so much greater than myself, then facing these barren landscapes gives you a sense of strength that you wouldn't have had before, or at least I didn't experience before. Suddenly it's like, it doesn't take you away from facing it, but it is just like, I am here. Oh, okay. It's grounding. And it's also attunes to the importance of the facing. I am watching.
There's a few things, images that came out. You said barrenness, you said grounded, and you said warped energy. And I'm thinking of like trying to water plants, but with a hose that's like bent, right? It just can, sometimes nothing comes out, but it might just like dribble. It's like the energy's warped. The energy's trying to get through, but there's something in it that's not smooth and it's warped. To not be barren, to unwarp.
Thinking of like you go to sort the hose out and it starts spraying at the front and then you run and you grab it and it twists again.
Yeah. And then at some point the energy can be under control and you can utilize it the way that you want, but maybe you go through the the untwisting chaos where you're like, well, now I'm drenched, but maybe I needed that. So another thing, when I have attended church, I don't consider myself a Christian. I do consider something in me that's spiritual, that fits within a similar worldview, but I don't know whether I would attach to calling myself that. One thing is the communal, social, church-going aspect. And what I have less time for is that I feel like when I'm in that context, I just feel cliche after cliche. And I don't feel like it's resonating because the poetry of what is happening isn't as obvious. Now, there are moments like when we do communion, when there's a ritual in place, that's repeated, but that feels like poetry. That feels like it's living out what it needs to in the context, like having the bread broken, eating it, drinking the blood of Christ. Like that feels resonant, even though it's repeated. But a lot of the, like the songs sometimes, and sometimes like the readings, I feel like I'm somewhere that is using all these mythopoetic stories, but they are being diluted into a cliche. And that doesn't mean they have to be, but like that's been my experience mostly. So I try and find that relationship and that resonance in a way that refreshes it and makes it new for me. And I struggle to find that in a context of any place of worship that I've been.
It's actually really relatable. Within the context of church, Sunday church, it's worship. So it's all praise be to God. Being someone that so regularly walks in darkness and wanting to do that, as I say, deep work, healing, dark place. There's something that of me that keeps pulling myself to it. There's an importance in there. And going to church lifts me out of it sometimes. And that's actually really well needed for me, because I don't want to be consumed by it. I'm trying to face it, not become it. And staying there too long, I will become it. I have done. I understand this. It's that compartmentalization of releasing what's within and trying to put it back to get on with your day. It's like in the past, I constantly made the mistake of, no, I need to deal with it. Oh, now. And then I would deal with it in very unhealthy ways. And then it's everywhere. It's spilling out of me. God, how are you doing? Everything. Everything is falling apart, you know, and it was in my mind. It was because I painted that story. So for me, it does pull me out of that in a way that is necessary for me to continue to go back there. However, in terms of the cliche, I feel the cliche. I feel a distance with it still. And part of me is like, well, is this just the doubt every Christian goes through? Or is it something else? Is it curiosity? It's difficult for me to navigate in this area because it's also revealing to, like, my Christianity definitely isn't as strong as many other people that I'm good friends with. So that bit's a struggle because I always have this, but there's so many archetypal stories that fit so well in my experience and my understanding of life. What is interesting is delving into understanding other ideas and philosophies and religion, how often I can move back to Christianity to be like, wow, they're all connected in somehow, in some way. And I find that fascinating. Yet, perhaps it is also seen as sinful to even entertain these ideas. So I'm at this inner battle of divide of interest in knowledge, biting the fruit from the tree of knowledge. Should I be biting that? Adam and Eve did. Does that make it wrong? Perhaps. They got thrown into the barren landscape and
past a flaming, twirling sword east of Eden.
And one of my favorite ideas about that is like that was the birth of consciousness, you know. Mm-hmm. I'm naked. Oh. Cover up. I'm vulnerable. So it's really difficult for me to navigate this. I'm in inner turmoil about it. Turmoil is the right word because I'm constantly I get so much from the Bible. I also get so much from tarot. Can we blend the two? Many think we can't. I'm of mind we can.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's why, even though I would find myself as a Christianized framework, but it's like I want to walk, one might say, heretically away and towards and around and to other things and take things from other religious traditions and respect them and understand. I mean, there's different ways to go about it. There's the postmodern supermarket shopping religion where you just take a little bit from everything and you don't actually connect to anything deeply at all, because it's all widening, not necessarily deepening. And then there's kind of, on the other side, you could talk about the perennialists or the traditionalists that believe the major religions all have something that is deeply true, but pick one and then just go deep into one. Interestingly, a lot of them became Muslims. I'm not sure if that was a cultural thing, that there's a guy called René Guénon and he became Islamic, and I don't know whether because he was kind of like at the early part of that, what became a sort of movement, that the others followed suit. But whereas my perspective is like, okay, I understand both instincts, but like where to sit on that. So I don't feel like I suit what feels like a predetermined system, not because I don't respect the tradition, but I think it often, and I heard you say something a bit like this earlier about like someone will call something sinful that they emotionally don't like. So I feel like it's not necessarily dictated by the religion itself. It's dictated by the people that are attaching themselves to that. And I don't want to live a life where I feel like people are telling me what is good and is not good, because I think I can make not those judgments independently of relating and talking to these things, but individual enough to make that call myself in relation to it too.
And not only that, perhaps even our experience as we grew up together, of being told something bad that is good, or being told something's good that is bad. And so understanding that people are often wrong really makes you think, well, what is sinful and what isn't sinful? Where is the line and how do we interpret it? And can you trust the voice that says one is one, one isn't one? And I guess a lot of it is a personal journey, though. It's meant to be your connection with God, your interpretation of the words, not prophets, ministers, supposed to be guides to help you come to an understanding. If anyone, was speaking in nothing but dogmatic language, this is this, I'm not going to trust that person. I don't think I could ever trust someone that has just got one line of thought and isn't able to balance a whole array of different ideas and opinions and then say, well, because of all of this, I think this, but let's hear what you have to say. That's what I would like.
When people are extremely dogmatic, they can be very powerful on the rhetoric and the rhetorical, but very weak in the poetic, to the point of being either anti-poetic or evil poetic.
Evil poetic?
Yes. So purveyors of giving something, usually uncreatively, but if they're giving something creative, but the creativeness is very destructive, it becomes kind of anti-poetic, in the sense that if poetry, and this people will heavily disagree here, but if you're aiming for the good, these are capital letters, the capital good, true, beautiful, use poetry to find these things and they filter into each other. The rhetoric and the cliche and the dogma doesn't allow you to fully get to these things, because you're not being creative. You're just saying, this is, I know this to be. I know I'm a good person, so I don't need to look at myself. Is there a much more dangerous thing than lack of self-awareness, to the point where you just think, I am right?
I am who I am, and you can't change me. You won't change me. It's that attitude.
And I won't change me.
Like the audacity to have that. Audacity. I say that jokingly, mockingly, but I also understand that can just come from the protective self.
Yeah.
Stay out of my mind.
So, from this conversation, what do you feel that you've got from it in a nutshell?
The interesting thing is the answer popped in my head immediately. It was revealing it. That is taking time. But you've given me so much to think about with poetry in general. And it's amazing to have a space where you sit down and you're like, we're going to have this conversation together. Let's draw out from what's within and put it out there. And hopefully people like that. Or don't. It causes disruption.
Yeah, the disruption.
I like that. So that was I can't remember his name, who was on your podcast.
Yeah,
Ian.
Dr. Ian C.
The
Edwards.
disruptor. That is not leaving my head with the hammer and the nail.
See, I was wondering if you were using a scalpel or that was a gong.
Ah, I suppose both are disrupting. The gong especially. Oh, imagine mid-conversation. Someone just rings a gong.
Big, massive gong. So we got the train.
I think
so.
maybe more therapists needs to bring that into their. If someone's spiraling, they just hit the gong. That could go either way.
Yeah. Deeper?
Completely unraveling, perhaps. It is also fascinating and exciting to be this side of the interviewer and watch you firsthand operate and how well you can come to interesting questions, and the pauses are so short between here's another idea, here's another question, here's another thought, and you must make Rachel's life easier when it comes to editing as you flow so well. So it's exciting.
I make her life perfect.
You don't need to be changed. You're perfect.
I find in this conversation, doing it with you, obviously I had one with Dad, and now doing it with you, more eye contact. The listening's actually improved because there's no other thing that we're reaching to do, or maybe we have a task that needs completing, there's certain physiological needs, maybe we need to eat. But it's like what we've said, it's like we're going to sit down and we're going to converse. And to me, it's important and powerful and very vulnerable to frame it as like, I want to hear from you something I haven't heard before and express something. And that has been expressed 100 times, I don't know, and it's going to continue to express at the conclusion of this. And fundamentally, I feel like in some sense, this conversation and the conversations on this podcast are poems in themselves, and they allow for the poetic to be a huge and significant part of the dialogue, and to showcase that when you frame something as let's talk about something poetically, it always, if you're both willing to be open to it, going to be poetic and new and fresh and different.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
If we go to do this again, however much time passes before we get that opportunity, what would you like to have brought to the conversation or come up as a result of having had this one? It's a very broad question, but it's
what might be next?
So this has been a very disruptive conversation, which I love. How are you hoping that disruption, what are you hoping that that disruption brings in future conversations? And so I'm thinking from like a poetic perspective, obviously. Like, it's really difficult for me to phrase this in what I'm trying to ascertain out of it.
Poetry can be hard.
Nah, you just the dog sat on the
rhymes,
mat
mate.
and ate a cat.
That's different than the cat sat on the mat, so
Whoa.
you just disrupted that.
I'm trying to think of like the next moment, the next podcast, of which I'm very much hoping there'll be a next one.
Obviously. Yes.
What would you hope takes the space in terms of conversation, in terms of development, in terms of poetic exploration, thinking about many of the subjects that we've spoken about, thinking about growth?
I think fundamentally is just to honor who we are in the moment of that conversation and what it brings in the context and in the time and in the space in which it is occurring, and to hopefully be further along in the things that we need to do in our lives to be able to express something again deeply and openly and honestly, to try to frame it already. Beyond that would be to create a constraint that I don't know if it would need. So it's to meet you where you are and where I am, to create another ritual space for more poetry to occur.
You answered that unbelievably wild question with a wild answer, and I love that. And you managed to somehow pull something together in the midst of that. So awesome.
Being interpretive. So I have a poem that I've got up in here that I'd like to recite, called Last Days Before the Wake. Very quick observation. I just said I have a poem to read, and you moved closer, because poem asks you to listen, to lean. It's like a plant to the sun. To the light of the poem. It's called Last Days Before the Wake. A handful of ash, and we wonder what to tell the children. We clench our trench coats close to our bodies. In the oak forest, all the trees are shaved into semicolons, and you wake on the dirt to cries of, the world doesn't have to end like this, but it does. It does. It does.
Wow. Deep.
Yeah. So much in me is like it's almost like resisting. They're like, ah, that's a wrap.
Yeah, and not so much in me is just wants to go into like, yo, bro, how deep is space, man?
And the answer is pretty freaking deep. And I just want to say a big thank you to Harry Osborne Cooper for letting us use his amazing conservatory in his house. And I'm very grateful to Harry for allowing us to do this, and for you to attend and listen and be here throughout this conversation. It's like a really wonderful thing to have allowed us to do. So thank you. Rhianne Hales, thank you for attending this and looking after my little brother. Not like silly little brother.
My co-regulator.
Yeah. Excellent co-regulator.
The calm to my wild.
Obviously, of course, to my love for Rachel Hassell, who is recording, filming, listening, and hopefully hears me also saying new things, so you're not just like, this again. So, but anyway, if you had any final words beyond that token of gratitude.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You are welcome. It feels really awkward to transition. Just like, anyway, like, subscribe. So, see you next time. Me and Rachel like high-fiving. Yes! Let's do that.
Should we run across the room like we used to?
Oh, yeah.
And try to
talk about that
high-five
next
each
time.
other as hard as we could. That didn't feel organic. That didn't feel organic.
Okay.
That felt like that. Felt
You want
like...
to do it again?
Well, we need to say something cool. Say something cool. Nice. No.
Sick, bro.
I said sweet. Was that maybe?
It's all off unless there's any other funny bits you want to do.
Bye!
Yeah.
I've got so much material. In fact, can we just riff?